G'day. It's time to down your unders. Review and dissection of content from some of the sharpest minds in the game. Hosted by Adam Camilleri. Art of War. Down Under.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another awesome episode of Art of War Down Under. We are here back on our, regularly scheduled programming since Grotmas happened with, Eldari and Guard Codex reviews being inserted in there. And we are back to reviewing some Grotmas goodness. And for your viewing pleasure, I have brought on the number freaking one demon player in the world in the ITC last year. He likes to go by Big Lenny, and you should all definitely call him that in as simpering and weird a voice as possible. His name's Kevin Leonard. Welcome to the show again, mate.
Hey, Adam, how's it going?
Pretty dang good, dude. Excited to talk about some Grotmas stuff?
Oh, yeah. I'm super glad we got 4 detachments instead of 1.
Yeah. They did Demons good in Grotmas. In fact, if you want to go down the line of who benefited the most from Grotmas, it'd be hard to say Demons didn't, right? From where they were to where they got to.
Yeah, so I would say from my one top to bottom, I would say definitely Slaanesh got the best treated. I think they're the most powerful or close to most powerful, even with Demonic Incursion, the index detachment. And then I'd say the next most powerful, I want to say probably Tzeentch, because it's shown that it can win tournaments also. So yeah, I guess I'll just put it in second. And then third would be Khorne. Last would be Nurgle.
Yeah, although I have been hearing some pretty interesting things about Nurgle, especially in teams, for just being able to saturate and just, deny primary and get in the way and stuff. But we will get to that in the review. Of course, this is going to be a 2-part podcast for everybody at home. I do need to put in a reminder that this is a separate Patreon and separate Discord and everything to Nick Nanavati's Art of War podcast. There's been a lot of people who've been signing up for his show and wondering where my show is. Unfortunately, we did split the streams, so to speak, a couple of years ago. So if you do sign up for his, just know that mine is on an own separate one. And hopefully 4 exclusive episodes a month of an hour or so each is enough to warrant another $5 from you. If not, no big deal. Just support Art of War and everything they do. But you can catch that part 2 over at Art of War Down Under over on Patreon. And we're going to be designing some lists and answering some Patreon questions with big old Kevin here. So jumping straight in, my man, you've already kind of given us your hot takes. But we're going to be doing this review in order of which they appear in the Grotmas tab over in Warhammer Community, if anyone wants to follow along. First up is Legion of Excess. And we are starting right at the top because essentially Slaanesh went from being apart from Mr. Paul Winters, was an unplayable archetype by itself and went straight to like A tier, A+ tier, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would also argue S tier, so in some instances. But I think their silver bullet, I think, is Bridgehead. But with the new Guard Codex, you don't have to deal with those 20-man Krieg bricks with a 5 of field paint anymore.
Correct.
So who knows?
Correct. Yeah, who knows indeed. All right, starting off with the detachment rule. Beguiling Aura, Slaanesh units from your army are eligible to declare a charge in a turn in which they fell back. So that's just a blanket ability that you get. And then you get a Seductive Gambit. And yes, you should, if you're able to expose one shoulder to your opponent when you do your Seductive Gambit, you should. But you get the following ability. Each time this unit ends a charge move, you can declare a performance Seductive Gambit. If you do, essentially you give up fighting before they do, or the option to fight before they do. But in result of that, you get full rerolls to hit and full freaking rerolls to wound, mate. How good is this?
It is amazing. Oh, and also I want to throw in, if you heroic intervene, that counts as a charge move, everyone.
Does
if you do that, don't tell your opponent you can still get your full reels to hit and wound, because you don't have to have fights first to get it. You just don't get fights first.
Correct. Yeah. And if you do heroic intervene instead of the shoulder, you're obliged to blow them a kiss. Like, with your hand, blow them a kiss.
Possibly throwing a wink there too.
Yeah. But the fact is that this isn't even a downside, because of course the downside is you're going to get hit before your opponent's got the option to hit you before you hit them. But if they're a shooting unit, you don't care. Oh, it's 10 guardsmen, you don't care. It's a Riptide, you don't care. There are so many things you do not care about hitting second against being played in the meta at the moment. Have you found that?
Oh, I found that a lot. So, like, if you charge like a transport, like a Rhino, even a Land Raider, even a Dreadnought, because there's only 5 attacks at 3 damage each. So even if you don't have your mirror
Yeah.
as a backup, you're only gonna lose like a fiend. So and you'll still
Correct.
probably kill it, like
Yeah.
not even a sideways glance.
Now the downside is there are some armies in the game where you just don't get to, you don't really get to do the seductive gambit because there are just if you're playing against world eaters, for example, you never want to hit second versus world eaters, right?
Well, and like I said, so if you have your if we're going through the stratagems, the Thieves of Pain is probably your best friend in that detachment. And
Correct.
then if you pair that with your Demonettes and the Epitome to get the 4 Film of Pain, so when you pass off the wounds, you can go into those heavier hitting units in combat.
Yeah. Indeed, but of course we'll go into it deeper, more possibly in
Yeah.
part two. There are a lot of play arounds to that as well. But the first of the enhancements is False Majesty, 30 points, and I got to tell you, these enhancements are bangers. And at times, like there's an
10
argument
out
to
of 10.
it's possibly the best selection of enhancements that are fit for purpose, as in like they match perfectly up with how the army plays. There's really not a stinker here, but you'll find the points get a little bit tight because these are quite pricey.
Mm-hmm.
While a friendly Legion Demonicus Slanesh unit that isn't a monster is within 6 of the bearer, add 1 to the freaking wound roll. 6-inch aura, 30 points, a +1 to wound on everything that isn't a monster, so isn't a Keeper of Secrets. This is auto take, right?
Auto take, 100%.
Yeah. Bada bing, bada boom. No more to be said. Dreaming Crown is up next for 30 points. While a friendly Slanesh unit, excluding monsters, is within 6, a +1 to hit. Now, that's the one I have that, like, in any other army, you'd be like, oh my sweet god, I'm windmill slamming that into my army too. But you have rerolls to hit on demand, and you pretty much hit on 3s exclusively with the at worst with the entire army, right? So is this one you take?
I took it when I went to LVO just because it's
Yep.
nice. Like if you're facing like Death Guard or other armies with like a neg 1 to hit or Nurglings throwing around there.
Yep.
So it could hurt a little bit. But I mean, for 30 points, it's still nice to have.
Yep. Fair enough. Up next is Avatar of Perfection for 15 points, monster model only. At the start of the phase, if there are no friendly units within 6 of the bearer, you can re-roll advanced rolls made for the bearer, re-roll charge rolls made for the bearer, and ignore any modifiers to move characteristics and or charge rolls. Now, this one is a bit weird because you want to be 6 inches away from any other friendly unit. And then the buffs aren't that great, but they're not bad. What do you think?
This one, like out of the 4 you have, this is the one I would take the least because
Mm.
the one after this one, I'd probably take that over the
Yeah.
Avatar.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the last one is Soul Glutton. It is the cheapest at 10 points. Monster model only. At the end of the fight phase, if one or more enemy models were destroyed this phase as a result of one or more of the bearer's attacks, you can regen D3 lost wounds. And for 5 points cheaper, that sounds like a better buff for a monster than rerolls hit reroll. So reroll advanced reroll charges because you're just so quick anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you put that thing on a keep. Well, you put it on a keeper, and then like if you take any damage on the way in, you can heal yourself. And if that one is usually your emergency Thieves of Pain use, like if you run out of your demonettes with the 4-up, you can use that, and then you can heal that thing a lot quicker.
Yeah, correct. You can heal it right back up again. I am happy it's capped at only D3 back. So if you go in and clear a whole unit of 5 or 10 with your keeper, you don't get extras, but it is still pretty dang good for 10 points. So which one do you find that you take in order of priority? Like, so I'm assuming False Majesty is you just never not going to take the +1 to wound aura, but where do you go from there?
Yeah, False Majesty, like pretend your list is 1970. Like you have
Yeah.
that in there all the time. And then
Yep.
probably the second one I would say is Soul Glutton. And if you have the
Yep.
30 points, do the Dreaming Crown.
Yeah, correct. But then you're setting aside 70 points, which can get you pretty close to another unit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the cheapest unit you would want to take is a Seeker Chariot.
Because
But I would feel like 2 is fine. 3, you find that it's hard to, because they're on the big oval bases. It's hard
logistics.
to hide
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, exactly right. It's logistically hard. All right, well, that is the enhancements, and we are going at a pretty clip. I'm reading all the things, and Kevin is giving us all the insights. Thieves of Pain is pretty much the build-around stratagem. It is 1 CP, and this is the one that everyone at home needs to know about because this is the one you need. This is the question you need to undo to like have a good game into Slanesh Demons. This is 1 CP. Any phase. Just after an attack or mortal wound is allocated to a model in a Legion's Demonica Slanesh unit from your army that isn't a monster. That unit, select one other friendly unit within 12 until the end of the phase. When the selected unit is on the battlefield, each time a model in your unit would lose a wound, inflict one mortal wound on the selected target instead. Now, this is so judiciously worded. You do not need line of sight. You do not need to be, any closer than 12 inches. You can have one model within 12 inches of the back of another model, and they're extending even, far beyond, those 12 inches with the rest of them. And the fact that it is any freaking phase, shooting, fight phase, hell, charge phase. You can use this against the D6 mortal wounds that in the freaking movement phase that could be done by, guard engineers. This is super crazy good, right?
Yeah, this is like detachment defining stratagem right there.
Yeah.
Like you always have like one or two, even if you're next to like a Caldus assassin, have like two in the pocket. Make sure you have this stratagem available at any time.
Yeah, but this almost means that because of course you look at this army and you'd be like, oh wow, I just want to take, Shalaxi, 3 keepers, 18 fiends, and who cares about the rest? It really makes you like take a diverse army, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like for that one, I think you always want to have the demon, like the demonettes and epitome combo, just to have this
Yeah.
in the pocket,
Yep.
just to have it.
So explain how what the Kuntorted epitome does for people at home.
So it has two abilities. One of them is at the start. I think it's like start of the shooting phase. You roll a d6. On a 1, the unit takes d3 mortal wounds. On a 2 through 5, it's -1 to hit. On a 6, that unit can't shoot. So it's nice, but honestly, I forgot that thing existed even in LVO. But the other one is as long as the model is leading the unit, so it's not just by itself. So you have to lead something. The whole unit gets a 4 field of pain against mortals and psychic damage.
Amazing.
So then you pair this with Thieves of Pain. You turn wounds taken into mortal wounds, and then honestly, you can if you roll good, you can literally take 0 damage for both units.
Correct.
And after they just started like shooting or fighting the crap out of you, essentially.
Because the first thing that I did, and many others, when I just started discussing these attachments, was finding out like the most effective way to make your unit want to dish out wounds to offset the wounds, and then the most efficient way to kill the wound battery. Because that's a good way of thinking about it. Like you have a unit of 6 fiends, and then you have a unit of wound battery of absorption for those fiends.
Mm-hmm.
Now, everyone was already going like, oh, okay, what's do I take aggressors with lethals again and full rerolls, and I just dump lethals on the fiends and make them offset on it, and I can just kill out the battery with quantity, and then try and use Devastator Centurions to punch through the fiends now they don't have the battery, etc. But the fact is that battery of 10 demonettes goes to an effective 20 wounds. The 10 wounds on the data sheet, but then you go to a pseudo 20 wounds, doubling the effectiveness, 15 or more, when you add the 4 up, feel no pain. So then it throws off all the math of what people perceive is going to happen from that interaction.
Yeah. So and the epitome has 8 wounds, so that's 18 wounds of ablative wounds. So and then 4 of feel no pain. That's basically 36 ablative wounds for that unit right there.
Yeah, it's wild. All right, but does the detachment get any better? Let's have a look. Arch Agonist is 2 CP. It's in the fight phase, and pretty much it's a monster or Slaanesh unit that isn't a monster. I have to read this one out. 1 Legions Demonicus Slaanesh monster unit, or up to 2 other Legions Demonicus Slaanesh units from your army that have not been selected to fight. Until the end of the phase, each time model unit makes an attack +1 to wound. So 2 CP to do this on a keeper, essentially, or Shalaxi if you wanted to, or 2 CP to do it on any other 2 units with no other terms and conditions. They can be on opposite sides of the table. Have you used this much?
I've used it once, and that was only after the False Majesty guy already died.
Okay,
then that was like one of the Hail Mary things I needed to like kill a tank or something, or I wasn't next to the mask or the False Majesty guy.
Perfectly said. All right. Sensory Excruciation is 1 CP. It's in your command phase. 1 Slash monster unit from your army that is on the battlefield. Each unit on the battlefield that is within your army's Shadow of Chaos and must take a battle shock test at -1. This stratagem, so just as a designer's note, this stratagem forces all friendly and enemy units alike within your army's Shadow of Chaos to take a battle shock test. This can allow a Demons player to heal from passing battle shock tests within their Shadow of Chaos, from their Demonic Terror army rule, which of course they still have. And yes, so this is just like 1 CP Shadow of the Warp, and this is fan-freaking-tastic. Do you like it?
Sometimes because if you do that, you do it on in your shadow, so it's your home field. So you could screw yourself over on primary. But I only used this stratagem once, and I had a keeper within 6 inches of a unit holding their home objective, and they lost 5 points, which kind of what you do with Shadow in the Warp anyway, just for primary denial.
Yep, I love it. I also love that it's in your command phase, so you can score all your primary points, draw your secondaries, get full information, and then do it if you want to. So it's not like it's at the start of your command phase, so you risk cooking your own primary score or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So the timing is also very good.
And it's also good to heal your Soul Glutton Keeper 3 times.
Yes.
So if you're below half, you heal. Using your command phase, heal again, and then if you kill something, heal again. So that's up to 9 wounds back on your keeper right there.
Silent King, baby. Let's go. Phantasmal Longing is the next one for 1 CP. It's your movement phase or the charge phase. 1 Demonic Slanesh unit from your army until the end of the phase. Each time model and unit makes a move, it can move through terrain features. So this really, really unlocks your keepers going through walls, especially on some of the more wall dense terrain packs that we have, like WTC. Mm-hmm. This seems just incredible.
It's good. It does what it says on the tin. Move through walls. Can't get any better than that.
Exactly.
Only, right. Except move through models, but it can't have it all.
Yeah, and that's the interplay to that. And it seems like a lot more of these move through units, so move through stuff, is either units or walls, pretty much. Only the Chaos Knight one, the Knight of Shade, retains going through both. From what I can tell, there might be 1 or 2 others out there. Cavalcade of Blades is up next for 1 CP. Your charge phase, just after a Legion Select Legion unit ends a charge move. Select 1 enemy unit with the engagement range of your unit, and then roll 1d6 for each model and unit that is within engagement range of that enemy model. Or roll 6d6 if your model is a monster. For each 4+, you suffer a mortal wound. So it's a little grenade or baby tank shock equivalent. Is this any good?
Oh yeah, if someone tries to throw like a cheap screen in front of you, you can kill it, and if they don't measure 4 inches, you can go tag the thing behind it. So it's good to have. Or if you need to finish off a tank that you don't think you can do it with 1 or 2 guys, or even a keeper, you just roll 6 dice. So it's nice.
Correct. Well, exactly right. So in a lot of games, you'll find that transports are quite good against Slanesh. Well, they're one of the better ways to combat Slanesh because they're usually a single phase army, and the shooting isn't really adequate for killing transports consistently. So you'll find that if you shoot 2 or 3 keeper whips and some other bits and pieces, you'll have a transporter 1 or 2 wins left, and then you charge, finish it off, and then pile in and try and get the contents on the fight activation.
Mm-hmm.
So last one is Overwhelming Excess for 1 CP. It's in your opponent's shooting phase, just after an enemy unit selected as targets. 1 Legion Demonic Listeners unit from your army that was selected. The attacking unit must take a battle shock test, subtracting 1 from that test. If that test is passed until the end of the phase, each time model in that attacking unit makes an attack, again, that targets that unit, you're -1 to hit. If that test is failed, in addition to being battle shocked until the end of the phase, the attacking unit cannot select that unit as a target of any attacks. The unit can, however, reallocate those attacks if there's other options. This seems, this whole detachment just seems like a gunline's nightmare. Like you're going to put them in Slaneshi jail and then mess with them while they're stuck in that jail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so especially if you do in the early game where you only send out 1 or 2 things.
Yeah.
So if they try to put only 1 thing into it and they fail that battle shock, well, they're just sitting there playing with themselves the whole time.
Yep, correct. If you can't allocate it anywhere else, the shooting is lost. And there are, if you're in Shadows of Chaos, is that a -2 battle shock?
Yes.
Spice. Very spicy. This one trick Tau hates. Really,
it's like,
really
here's my 10 breachers. You're on objective. I'm going to kill you. And no.
And no, you will not be killing anything, sir. So that is the end of the Legions of Excess. And you and I do believe this is the best one. I rate Legions of Excess in teams. I think it can come into some issues in some matchups in singles where you can just find yourself, against, 3 units of Thunder Cav and things become quite awkward. But there is just so many good matchups for this army in the meta. And you think this is possibly S tier?
I think it's possibly S tier. Just maybe 1 or 2 matchups that, like I said, is their silver bullet, but they're changing a little bit. So we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, correct. All right, jumping over to Scintillating Legion. So this is the Zinch detachment. And this is going to take a little bit to read out because their detachment rule is quite a rule, many a paragraph. It is called Fates in Flux. You start the battle with 3 flux tokens. We recommend using different dice to track how many flux tokens you have. You can spend 1 flux token just after an advance roll, hit roll, wound roll, damage roll, saving throw, or hazardous test made for a Legion Demonic the Slanesh model or the Slanesh unit from your army to re-roll the result of that roll. Flux tokens can also be spent to enhance the effects of some stratagems. Each time you spend a flux token, it reduces the number of flux tokens that you have. And you give 1 to your opponent. So whenever you spend 1, you're giving 1 to them, and you start with 3. Whenever your opponent has 1 more flux tokens, they can expend them in a similar manner, but with a few less caveats. So advanced rolls, hit rolls, wound rolls, or saving throws, so not for damage. And they can reroll that result as well. If they do, they reduce the number of 2, and they give it back to you. In your command phase, if your opponent has 1 or more flux tokens, you gain 1 flux token. This is a wild, wild thing. So essentially, you start with, I wouldn't say miracle dice because you don't get to exchange the total, like the result of the dice, but you essentially have 3 pseudo command reroll stratagems in your pocket that you can use all at the same time in the same phase. And then every time you expend 1, you give that resource to your opponent. But then if they have any of them, you get more of them. And then if they use them, they give them back to you. This is a wild detachment rule. How do you rate it?
I definitely it's a fun detachment rule. I wouldn't say it's like super competitive, but it's nice to like you said, have like emergency command points if you need for saves, extra damage. But for the most part, I would say you would use in the early game you want to use it for stratagems, just to get them buffed up, and then towards the later game when you can
Saves.
technically have more flux tokens in the economy, you can start using them as like, oh, I'm gonna burn like 6 of them for wound rolls or damage rolls or whatever.
Yeah, correct. Well, yeah, I've played a couple of games against this detachment, and I didn't really understand how much better flux tokens were for the Zinj player than me. I thought it was pretty much the same thing. Like, we're just going to be rerolling dice, and we just can pick the moment where we want to try and skew the results with the dice. It got to the point where my opponent, Matt Morriselli, who went on to win Uprising with this list, had like 6 or 7, and I lined up like 3 brigands on a Lord of Change, and he just decided no damage was going to be done that day. Just like, did I fail that save? No, I didn't. Rolling like 3 and 4 dice at a time. It was pretty obnoxious. But the fact that like the flux tokens they can be rolled for the hazardous and the damage rolls for Zinch, but not for the opposing player. And then in addition, the flux tokens, like we said, soup up the stratagems when we get to them as well. Means that when your opponent when the Zinch player spends flux tokens, I've learned to pretty much never use them myself unless it's going to really directly change the outcome of the game. Is that your finding as well?
Yeah, that's what I found too. Most of my opponents saved them for armor save rolls, or that's all they really used them for, and that's about it.
Easy done. All right, first the enhancements, Inescapable Eye for 10 points. Zinch model only. In your command phase, if the bearer is on the battlefield, if your opponent has 1 or more flux tokens, you gain an additional flux token. How do you rate this?
It's nice to have, but I don't want to spend minimum 60 points for a character to caddy it. That's all I would really use it for.
And that's because you're going to have like usually at least one Lord of Change, if not possibly 2, and there are 2 very good enhancements that just go straight on those guys. The next one is this one, Infernal Puppeteer, which is for some reason only 10 points. This could be 30 points and you'd still take it. Each time the bearer is selected to shoot, you can select 1 friendly Legion's Demonic Zinch unit within 9 of the bearer. If you do, when selecting targets for ranged weapons equipped by the bearer, you can measure range and determine visibility from that model instead of yours. So pseudo indirect, similar to how our purgation squads work for Grey Knights. How do you rate this?
Auto tag, like windmill slam this in.
Yep. It is monster model only, so you won't be souping up any of your, exalted flamers or stuff like that. But you don't really want to. You got a freaking a lot of change to use this on, and it is so potent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like you take that 18-inch range gun to like 72 if you really want to.
Yeah. Okay, Neverblade is up next for 20 points. Monster model only. Improve the strength characteristic of melee weapons equipped by the bearer by 2. Improve the attacks and armor penetration characteristic of melee weapons equipped by the bearer by 1. And each time the bearer makes a melee attack, add 1 to the hit roll. So +1 to hit, +1 attacks and AP, and +2 strength. This is up there with some of the best like melee weapon enhancements in the game. How do you feel about it?
I think if you I would say auto take, but I wouldn't put this on a Lord of Change. You would put it
DP.
on a winged Demon Prince.
Yeah, absolutely agree, mate. I've been on the receiving end of that winged Demon Prince, and it's a house because forgive me if I'm wrong. Do they have the once per game?
Yeah,
You
plus
know,
3 attacks.
plus 3 attacks. Yeah, you just kind of kill Canis Rex. Just like walk up, one tap, see you later, mate. It's pretty vicious.
Yeah, pair it with the stratagem we're about to talk about, and it's like it can slap the shit out of anything.
Absolutely, and so which is really big for this army because ostensibly, without this, you are an army of kind of like 2 to 3 good, very good shooting units, and then Seekers for melee, which are Screamers for melee, which aren't. They're fine. They're very respectable. They're totally fine. But you don't find yourself taking like 18 of them and trying to play a melee army. So you've got like mediocre shooting outside your Lords of Change, and then no real heavy hitting melee. So this really changes the metrics of the army, doesn't it?
Yeah, it keeps the melee matchups honest. So like they can't just full send forward. I mean they could, but then you can honestly clap back at least 2 or 3 units from your shooting and the melee just from that guy alone.
Exactly right. All right, last one is Improbable Shield, which is an aura for 30 points. Zinch model only. While a friendly Zinch unit is within 6 of the bearer, models in that unit have a 4-up feeling their pain against psychic attacks and mortal wounds. How do you feel about that one? I feel like that's overcosted for what you get.
Yeah, me being perfectly honest, I really thought that the puppeteer and the shield should have been flipped because I would still pay 30 points for Infernal Puppeteer.
Absolutely, you would, mate. It is almost army defining, the Puppeteer.
Yeah,
the fact that you can just really stop people staging up and getting into the premium like pressure places on tables by just blowing them up with Infernal Puppeteer and exposing like 3 Screamers. It's very powerful, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Impossible Eclipse is up first, 1 CP. It's in any phase. A Zinch monster unit from your army that is on the battlefield. Select No Man's Land or your opponent's deployment zone, or spend 1 flux token and select both. Until the end of the phase, the selected areas are within your army's Shadow of Chaos. Is this any good?
If this was in Demonic Incursion, I would pay 2 CP for this. But in Zinch, this would be really good in like a doubles format, and you're using it, and your partner is Demonic Incursion. This is like amazing. But in Zinch itself, the only real thing I can think of is if you want your opponent to take like -1 battle shocks on their home field or middle field, I guess. So I really don't. I don't think I've ever spent the CP for the strat yet.
Yeah, that's fair. Pyrogenesis is up next for 2 CP. Your shooting phase or the fight phase. 1 Zinch unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot or fight. And to the end of the phase, add 2 to the strength characteristic of weapons equipped by models in your unit, or spend 1 flux token and add 3 to those weapons and improve the AP by 1. So what strength can you get that DP to? Because they're getting +3 strength from this, +2 strength from the sword.
So you can get this to strength. Let's see, strength 13.
Yeah, 13, which will be AP 5.
I think it's 4.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that for some reason I thought they were AP3 base on the DP weapons.
I think the sword's only 2. It's 3. Yeah, it's 8-2-3. So then AP3 for the sword, and then AP4 for the strat. But still, I mean, DP4 is good.
Well, yeah, you go and you win that Land Raider on 3s and give it a 5-up armor save with just a bajillion attacks and +1 to hit, which you don't really need.
And then you pick sustain 1 when you do your pick 3 thing. So it's like, let's go.
Yep. But 2 CP, this is very niche, and like you don't use this that often, do you?
I use this probably like
once a game,
2 or 3 times a game.
Really? Who are you using this Demon Prince against that they're not picking it up the next turn? Who are these players?
So I'm talking about the stratagem itself. Like, so you do it in shooting. So you use this on the Infernal Puppeteer bird, and he's always next to Fate Weaver, so you can possibly get it lowered by 1.
Yep, and then you get the extra AP because this army does have an AP problem. Usually, this army wields AP2 as its like best AP, but now it has a beautiful way to go +3 strength, +1 AP, or +2 strength, +1 AP if you want to keep the flex token. Next up is Flickering Reality for 1 CP. Fight phase just after enemy unit selected as targets. 1 Legion of Demonicus unit from your army that was selected as a target of those attacks. Roll 1d6, and you can spend a flux token to re-roll the result. And to the end of the phase, each time an attack that unit attacks your target on an unapplied hit roll of that result, um, that attack sequence ends even if the result would have been a critical hit. So if you rip a 6, you can deny their lethals and sustained. Yeah.
Hmm. Yes.
Ooh. So okay, how do you rate this? Because this is
This
spicy, interesting, but I'm not sure it's that good.
this one I would only use it if you have like weapon skill 4 guys. So if you roll that 4 plus, then it's effectively a neg 1 to hit. And then
Yeah.
if you like if someone having like sustained or lethals, then I would try to fish for the 6, but I
Mm.
wouldn't do it if I just assume the unit's dead if it's already in combat, unless if it's
Yeah.
like a
Fair. Yeah.
bird or the
Yeah.
demon prince.
I mean, if you got 10 horrors that are charged by something that's iffy, and you just want the chance to not have all 10 picked up, possibly there's a case to be made. Like let's say a unit of berserkers gets in, a unit of 10 berserkers has good odds to wipe a unit of horrors, hitting on 2s, winning on 2s, or whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
just they can look at them funny and they die.
yeah, correct. And I'm not sure this would save them though on those math.
Mm-mm.
All right. Fateborn Nightmares for 1 CP, your movement phase or the charge phase, or your movement phase or your charge phase. One Legions of Monica Zinch unit. And to the end of the phase, each time model unit makes a move, it can move through terrain features again. Less impactful for Zinch as your monsters have fly, unlike the keepers, but still pretty good, right?
Yeah, because if you're going, it's good to go through a wall, and then since them and only the bloodthirsters have the fly, so
Yeah,
it basically is just move through everything.
yeah, that's exactly right. Because you do have fly on all those, so you do ignore models regardless.
Hmm.
Do you find yourself using this much though?
I've used it once, and that was just to if I needed Fate Weaver to go bonk like 5 Space Marines. And that was
Yeah,
about it.
fair. Totally fair. All right, next up is Fickle Fire for 1 CP. It's in your shooting phase. One Zinch unit from your army that is within engagement range of one or more enemy units. And to the end of the phase, enemy units are not considered to be engagement range of your unit for the purpose of selecting targets and for resolving attacks with ranged weapons. Until the end of the phase, each time an enemy model is destroyed, whilst unit is within engagement range of your unit, roll 1d6. On a 5 plus, your unit suffers 1 mortal wound after the attacking unit has finished making its attacks. Okay, so you're able to shoot into combat?
Yes.
Yep. What are the effects of this? Because I think there's some janky play here, especially with pink horrors.
So if you have like pinks or blues or infantry models, I would probably just fall back and save yourself the
Yeah.
CP. But if you have like a soul grinder or a bird in combat, that can be helpful because then you're not wasting their shooting by falling back, and
Mm,
everything can just go in and blast it. So especially like if it's like if you only have like a tank or something touching you, you can just use that count as being non-combat. And if that tank dies, oh no, you only rolling 1 5 up, and if you take a mortal,
yeah.
so be it.
Yeah, correct. The jank I was thinking of is if like you have, say a rhino tapping a unit of pink horrors, you can try and kill your own pinks to split and get more board position. You can do weird stuff like, get in
I
the way of potential charges next turn or catch other objectives or put more OC on objectives that maybe your opponent's going to try and flip.
I don't think you can split from that because you're just taking a
You can't.
mortal wound from
Oh,
from.
it's not from an attack. Okay.
That's what that's why I was thinking like, is it an
Yep.
attack though? So I don't. So I think you're just killing pinks for free. But it's also good
Mm,
if you're like exalted 8 bound or something else that says you can't fall back. That's
can't
like
fall back.
a
Yeah.
perfect like pocket strap. Be like, oh JK,
Yeah.
I'll shoot you anyway.
And the other one is armies that have surge moves.
Yes.
So you just stay in combat with them, deny their surge move, and then you can just move. Your movement phrase is unlocked. Like you can just move freely again.
Hmm.
All right, Delirium Unmade for 1 CP. It's end of your opponent's fight phase. One the Zench unit from your army that is not within engagement range of one of enemy units. Alternatively, you can spend 1 flux token when you use this stratagem and target 2 Zench units from your army instead, including those within engagement range, which is big. Remove your units from the battlefield and place them into strat reserve. So you can beam out of combat if you spend a flux token with this CP, right?
Oh yeah, that's great too. So if you also failed that combat, I mean, let's say if you don't die, but if you're still stuck in combat, just spend your flux token. And it's the best time to do it because it's in your opponent's fight phase. So then and you're basically going to give them a token, and then you're just going to get it right back. Sure, they'll still
Yeah,
keep it, but at
correct.
least uh, you're back to square one for how many you had to begin with.
Yeah, spot on. And that is the conclusion of the Scintillating Legion, mate. How do you weigh this one up? How good do you think this is? And please feel free to talk about it in teams and in singles.
In teams, I think it's pretty good, but honestly, I'd probably go for the Slanesh one for the even in
Yep.
teams also. And I think and also in singles, you have to worry about the melee matchups, but it definitely has ways to counteract it. So I
Yeah.
think it's still a viable detachment to bring, and it's all honestly I think it's the most fun just because of the token mechanic. So it's like, oh, here's a token, just start. Oh, don't actually throw dice or poker chips at your
Mm,
opponent, but you can just theoretically just keep doing it back and forth the whole time because it happens immediately. It's not like till the end of the
yeah.
turn, end of the phase.
Yeah.
Just here you go, take it.
It's beautiful. I love the flux token mechanic. I think it is fantastic and a lot of fun. It's a nice little way of interacting with your opponent. But I see this as it's an army that doesn't get big wins. It's very scrappy. It's very because the firepower isn't like Rogel Dawn level firepower, but it's pretty freaking good for clearing objectives. In fact, it's probably perfect for clearing objectives.
Yeah,
And when you add in some flamers and you have some premium Overwatch via flamers and stuff like that, it can get reasonably well rounded.
yeah. Like if especially in the teams environment, like if you can actually scrap with someone like you think, oh, whoever else is going to go there is going to be 20 or get 20 owed, but then you can honestly scrap for a 10-10 or 9-11, something like that
Mm.
to neuter your opponent's score and still come out on top at the end at the team score part.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, moving on to the Blood Legion. And my hot take on the Blood Legion is if you're playing merely demons, Slanesh is better. But this is not a bad detachment. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's better. I think if you're doing pure corn, I'd rather just do demonic incursion for guaranteed 6-inch charges instead of just
Yeah.
one unit getting a 6-inch charge. But I mean, it's
Yep.
still fun against like other like pure shooting because if you we'll go over what it does, but I think it's good against like pure shooting armies, but pure melee, I think it's not the best, even though
Mm,
even though you're saying it's corn. You think
yeah.
they're good at other melee matchups, but with what you can bring, it's like, I'd rather just do a different detachment. But it's still fun to play.
Yep. Totally agree, mate. All right, the detachment rule is murder call. Each time an enemy unit, excluding aircraft, ends a normal or advanced move within 6 of one or more Legion's Demonica Corn units from your army, units can make a surge move towards that enemy unit. To do so, roll 1d6. Models on you move another inches up to this result, but your unit must enter and move as close as possible to that enemy unit. When doing so, those models can be moved within engagement range. Of course, a unit cannot make a surge move while it is within engagement range. And then the second part of the ability is Blood Tainted. At the end of a phase in which a corn unit from your RV is destroyed an enemy unit that was within range of an objective marker at the start of that phase. If your unit has a high level of objective control over that marker at that time, that objective marker remains under your control until your opponent's level of control is higher than yours. So you get sticky objectives when you kill things on objectives, and you get inbuilt surge moves when they move within 6 inches of you. Is this stuff any good, my man?
Yeah, I think against against Tau, I think this is great because they basically can't take objectives if you stay on like the middle of the objective.
Yeah.
So I think like you're gonna beat them in the primary game, but you're probably gonna lose like most of your models.
Yeah, I agree. But the fact is that this detachment has a good primary game, which is something you can't necessarily like. So the Slanesh unit, the Slanesh one has a good primary game by being threatening from long range. So you don't actually have to. You're neutering their primary by either putting them in jail or making them like disincentivized to move into the middle. Where this is doing it by itself being in the middle of the table, right?
Hmm. Yeah, so like you put like five flesh hounds or
Yeah.
crushers, bloodletters, put it out in the middle, be like, come at me, bro. Dare you?
Yep. Yep. What are you going to do? All right. First of the enhancements is Slaughter Thirst, which is an aura of 35 points. Corn model only, while a friendly corn unit, excluding monsters, is within 6 of the bearer. Weapons equipped by models in the unit have lance. So it is very similar to the Slanesh one, but the Slanesh one is permanently on for +1 to wound. Doesn't require you to charge to get the lance to be +1 to wound. And it's 5 points more for, I don't know why. But how do you weigh this one up? Do you like it?
If this was Lance for anything, I'd auto take. But since it doesn't affect monsters, so
Monsters.
no demon prince or bloodthirsters, it's like take it or leave it. If you have the points, go for it. But I don't think it's a build around.
Next enhancement is Brazen Maw. It is a corn model only. Add 2 to the charge rolls made for the bearer's unit, which I quite like arriving from reserve and having a 7-inch charge, or possibly even better than that, depending on what you got on the unit. Do you like this one?
Oh yeah, I think this is the auto take
Yeah.
enhancement for the detachment.
Yeah. Who do you put it on though? Is it better on crushers? Is it better on is it better on bloodletters?
I think this is better on crushers because this is your hammer unit you almost need in the army to make
Mhm.
to get there and threaten people.
Yeah, totally agree, mate. All right, last one. Gateway unto Damnation for 10 points. Sorry, we missed one. We'll go back to Furious Cage in a moment. Gateway to Damnation, 10 points. Monster model only. The bearer's deadly demise ability inflicts mortal wounds on a 2+ instead of a 6. In addition, if the bearer was destroyed by one or more enemy units this battle, if the bearer destroyed one or more enemy units this battle, the bearer has deadly demise D3+3 instead of its D6. This is cute, but I'd rather plan for my monsters not to die than for them to kill more stuff when they do. How do you feel about it?
I feel this is good on a demon prince and not a bloodthirster because I'd rather have
Interesting.
a cheaper thing so it's easier to hide. Sure, you're not
Yep.
getting the bigger base, but you kill something and just yeet it forward. Say like, "Up, come kill me. Let's do it." And then yeah, just
Yeah,
explode and they explode on 2 up, pot, minimum 4 wounds to everything within 6. So I
I
think
do
it's better on
like.
a demon prince.
Yeah, I do like the fact that I can tell my opponent about this, being like, "Yeah, I'm gonna use my demon prince on my bloodthirster, and when he dies, he's gonna take some stuff with him after he kills this unit I'm sending him out to kill. So you better back up, man. Like you better back up out of that 6-inch, deadly demise. And I like the fact you can use for 10 points. You can kind of bully your opponent by proximity when you die. So I think that's kind of cute.
Yeah, the only thing that sucks though is because your detachment rule, they don't want to get close to you to begin with, so they're going to try
Anyway.
and stay out of 6 anyway.
Correct. Kind of a numbo. All right, Fury's Cage is 20 points. Monster model only. Each time the bearer is selected to fight, it can use this enhancement. If it does, the bearer suffers D3+1 mortal wounds. And until the end of the phase, each time it makes an attack, you can re-roll the hit roll and you can re-roll the wound roll. I'd like to tell you that I don't think a Thirster necessarily needs this assistance unless it's punching a Dawn or a Knight or something really big in combat. It doesn't need rerolls to hit and wound to kill like 95% of the units in the game. But how do you weigh it up?
You'd be surprised how many ones you roll when you for the hit roll.
Yes, that's fair. That is fair.
But yeah, if you take a bloodthirster in the army, always I would say slap this on him. But
Yep.
but yeah, if you take a bloodthirster, I put this on there, and then just that this would also be your missile of just send forward, try to kill something, and
Yeah.
then that's my take on it.
Yep, fair. All right, Wrath Undeniable for 1 CP. Your fight phase just after an enemy unit has selected its targets, one corn unit from your army that was selected. And to the end of the phase, each time a model unit is destroyed by a melee attack, if the model has not fought this phase, 4+ fight on death, with no extra rider for a +1. So it's just 1 CP, 4-up fight on death, no T's, no C's. How do you feel about it?
I think it's good to have. Not
Yeah.
it's not the best, but it's not bad.
Yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts too. Gore Hungry Onslaught is up next for 1 CP. It's in your moving phase or your charge phase. One corn unit from your army. Move through walls again, which it just sounds like a thing they're giving out to everybody. This is exceptional though, right, for corn?
Oh yeah, especially with blood crushers, because even in demonic incursion, even with your 6-inch deep strike, yeah, they can still be hiding behind walls and be like, oh, this sucks. But now you can just Kool-Aid Man right through it.
Yeah, absolutely right. I actually think this is better on Crushers than it is on the Thirster.
100%.
Yeah. All right, Skulls Beget Blood, 1 CP. It's in your shooting phase. One Corn Infantry or Corn Mounted unit from your army, excluding units that fell back this turn, that is not within engager range of one or more enemy units. Select one enemy unit that is not within engager range of one or more enemy units from your army and is within 8 inches, very corny, and visible to your unit. Roll 6d6 for every 4+, you get a mortal wound. So this is just 1 CP, literally grenades.
It's better grenades. You can advance and throw them.
Oh, it's true. Dude, perfect. That's why you're here, mate. that's why you're the big bucks. That's why ITC number 1. Do you use this one often?
Yes, and almost once, maybe not once a turn, but like 2 or 3 times a game, easy.
Mm. Yeah, and because the shooting phase is the place where you really have nothing to add, right? This army has flamers from Fleshhounds and essentially the
Skull,
flamers from the
and skull cannons if you want to take them.
if you want to take them, correct. All right, next up is Blood Begets Skulls for 1 CP. It's in your charge phase. One corn unit from your army that has not been selected to charge. Until the end of the phase, the unit is able to declare a charge in a turn in which it advanced. you are doing a lot of damage from reserve, like you're doing a lot of charge from reserve in this army, or a couple at least. But is this any good? Because I figure you're going to have some bloodletters starting on the table. Thirsters just absolutely love this ability, especially if they can go through a wall and then advance and charge. But is this one you slap down a lot, or is this just one you tell your opponent about and use, once a game?
I would use this probably 2 or 3 times a game, but I like doing this in the early game with flesh hounds. So you take a unit of
Yeah,
10 and put them in
yeah.
hound jail.
Oh, Hound Jail sounds pretty rough. And then, of course, they're in Hound Jail with advance and charge, so they kill their crude screen, they kill their guardsman screen, they kill their Storm Guardians or whatever they've got out front. Yeah, I like that a lot. All right, next up, 2CP Fool's Flight. Your opponent's movement phase just after an enemy unit falls back. One corn unit from your army that has within 6 of that enemy unit and would be eligible to declare a charge against that enemy unit. Your unit now declares a charge that targets only that enemy unit, and you resolve that charge. Note that even if the charge is successful, your unit does not receive any charge bonus, so you don't get to fight first. It is 2CP, and I feel like this is the one you tell your opponent about like 9 times in the game. Maybe only use once, maybe. But is this any good?
It is good, but this is basically a gotcha stratagem.
Yeah.
So and you do, like you said, tell your opponent like 9 times. They might forget it. Be like, you feel bad sometimes using it, but unless if they know it's like, listen, I gotta fall back. If you fail the charge, so be it. If it happens,
Yeah,
it
correct.
happens. And
Yeah.
also, I think this detachment itself is kind of a gotcha. So it's like, oh, if you get within 6, okay, all right, then
Surge.
we go forward. So
Yeah. I
this
killed you on
one,
an objective, sticky. Yeah. There is a lot of gotcha in this, right?
yeah, like this one I feel is like really good in like the mid tables, and then if you as soon as you get to the top the top tables, the opponents can play around it more. But it's still
Yeah.
annoying to try and stay out of 6 inches all the time.
Yeah, correct. I mean, it's also annoying the fact that if the unit that's falling back moves more than 6 inches, you can't use this ability.
hmm
Yeah, because
But it's all and
yeah.
another nice thing about this, if you use this on blood crushers, they still get their impact mortals.
Oh, that is cute.
Yeah, so if they fall
Ooh.
back, so it so if they fall back, you impact mortal them. And then you can still, since you made a charge move, you're able to pile in
Pile in,
consolidate.
consolidate.
So then
Mm.
so then you can tag more stuff. And then what? And I was listening to a video from Dean Simbeck a while back. Pair this
Yep.
with Rodigus with the half movement. That helps a lot.
Oh. Yeah, there's just no escape. Even if you move 12, you're now only moving 6. And if you're
hmm
base to base with any models, they can still make you. Yeah, that's
Yes.
big. That's real big.
Yeah. So
All right.
I wanted to shout that out because I remember that. I'm like, ooh, that's pretty good.
He'll appreciate that. I'll let him know. He might actually listen to my show for once. Dean. Sheathed in brass for 1 CP is your last stratagem. Your opponent's shooting phase just after an enemy unit selected as targets. 1 corn unit from your army that was selected as a target. To the end of the phase, models in your unit have a 3+ armor save. So it doesn't improve the invuln at all, but you have a 3+ armor. This is selectively okay because there is a lot of 5-up invuln in your army. There is some 5-up invuln in the army, yeah?
Yeah, a lot of it is 5 invul. The only 4 up you have is your cannons, Renmaster, Bloodthirster, Crushers. But yeah, again,
Yeah,
it's really nice with your Flesh Hounds and your Bloodletters, especially if you're in
correct.
cover. So
Yeah,
it's better than you think, but it's not like world ending. So if they're trying to shoot
yeah.
like mortars at you, that's fantastic. You're only gonna lose like 1 instead of 6 or 7.
Mm. Yeah, I do feel like this is the perfect stratagem for this army because it is the ice shield and brass armor kind of stuff. But yeah, it's an interesting strat because I'm thankful there isn't like a 1 CP +1 invuln strat in this, or reroll ones or whatever invuln strat. But this is really good because it's the only defensive strat you have here. Outside of this, there is no way to increase the defense of your units, and you will find that flesh hounds and bloodletters die very easily. Even crushers die relatively easily as well. To the damage of the game. So I feel like that's an important strat to have because it means you can be resistant to small arms fire on demand.
Yeah, if you're only getting targeted with small arms, I would use this strat. But if you're getting shot with melta guns, plasma guns, yeah, that's what you got
Doesn't do
your
anything.
invulns for.
Doesn't do anything. All right. So how do you evaluate all of the Blood Legion, mate? Because we have just finished the last strat.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, I would say this is good in like the mid tables, and then in upper tables you'll start to struggle a little bit more
Yeah.
from opponents knowing how to move their models.
Yeah, but I guess the counterplay to that, and I'm just being devil's advocate here, is that the better you get with this army, the more you're able to make that work to your advantage. Because
Yeah.
essentially, like every one of your units has a 6-inch no-go zone next to it. And
Oh
that's
yeah,
power, right? That's powerful.
yeah, movement is the biggest key in this game. So this is the second. This is the second least played detachment I've done in the Grotmas detachment. So
Yep.
yeah, like if I play more test games with this, I might move this up the rung. But for now, I'd say it's like third place.
Yeah, totally fair enough. And into your perceived last place, we go for the Plague Legion, which is one that I'm pretty keen on. I've been putting some lists together, just some think tank lists together, notably for team events. But this seems like a kind of very frustrating list for a lot of opponents. It does have some very bad matchups there, and we'll get into those, of course. But the detachment rule is Melancholic Miasma. And as a Chaos Knights player, this detachment frustrates me because it is so much better at Battle Shock than anything that Chaos Knights get to do. And it shows that they do know how to do this stuff. They do know how to make Battle Shock relevant. They just didn't want to give it to me. But
We have
while an
better
enemy
battle
unit
shocks at home.
yeah. Well, an enemy unit that's pretty good. Well, an enemy unit is the knight of one or more Nurgle units from your army. That enemy unit is within your Shadow of Chaos, so they're -1 leadership. In each player's command phase, select one enemy unit within your army Shadow of Chaos. That unit must take a Battle Shock test. So essentially, if you control half the objectives in the midboard, that's all Shadow of Chaos already. If you're in the deployment zone and you're within 9 of any of their units, you are within Shadow of Chaos, and you're always going to be at -1 leadership, of course, in that Shadow of Chaos. And then they can just in your command phase and in your opponent's command phase, you can try and flip primary, mess with their plans, stuff up their stratagem use, all sorts of good stuff. Is this any good, mate?
It's it can be good. Yeah, this is
Yeah,
the one I've tested the least. I've only done about like 5 games with it. Just every time I've only played against pure melee or pure shooting, and it's just
yeah,
not good into pure of one thing. I feel,
yeah, yeah. It wants to play into combined arms, like a Space Marine Gladius kind of style, bit of everything.
but if you play like heavy, like what is it, an elite style army like Custodes, Deathwing
Mhm.
Knight, heavy, Dark Angels, this thing is like their worst nightmare because if you get
Yeah.
to one of the enhancements, it's hilarious.
Oh, correct. And I think you're talking about the first of the enhancements. Canker Blight, 15 points.
Yeah.
Nurgle model only. Each time an enemy unit that isn't a monster or vehicle that is within 6 of the bearer fails a battle shock test, you can use this enhancement. I'm not sure why you would ever not use an enhancement if that does happen. But if it does, one model in that unit is destroyed, chosen by its controlling player. Each time the bearer uses this enhancement, no mortal wounds are inflicted by demonic terror rules. So they won't take the D3 for failing a battle shock, in addition for being in shadows. This is amazing. And that's what you mean, like, fail battle shock test, dead Deathwing Knight.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, those wardens that have that forward feel no pain. Be like, nah, I'm good. Just die,
Yep.
please.
Yep. Because that's right. It's one model is destroyed. So you don't get any freaking save against this. You just
Yeah.
pick it up. Pick it up.
Yeah,
See
and
you
the only
later.
time you wouldn't use this is if you're playing like a horde. So it's like, oh, I just want to use this enhancement, take D3 morals instead.
The
That's the
only
only
one,
time you wouldn't use it.
yeah, the only other one is like possessed that can resurrect. So they can kill one from the back, place one in the front.
Hmm.
Um, so I thought that was another one. If they can use that to get extra movement or hurt you, maybe you don't. But pretty much even then, you probably would. I'm clutching
Yeah,
the straws here.
because you can honestly take like 9 battle shocks in a
In a
phase
turn.
with this
Yeah.
army.
Yeah, it's wild. All right, Maggot Moors is up next for 15 points. In your shooting phase, select one enemy unit within 6 of the bearer. That enemy unit must take a battle shock test. Then roll 1d6. On a 3+, that enemy unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. Each time the bearer uses enhancement, they don't get any additional stuff from the demonic terror, so no additional d3. Is this one any good?
This one this is the one I would take the least because
Me
the
too.
other two we're gonna read are better. And then
Correct.
Cankerblight, I would always take this or the one we
Cankerblight's
just read.
oh,
Yeah.
dude, Cankerblight's auto take. Right now, I'm coin flippy on whether this is better on a GUO or better on a Poxbringer. So Poxbringer gives you another -1 to that, so they'll take the battle shock text at -2.
I would take
Um,
it on Sloppity Biopiper for the Cankerblight.
exactly right. Or Sloppity. There's actually like no bad place to take this, but I actually don't like it on the GUO because I think I have better things to put on the GUO.
Like the other two we're about to read.
Yeah. Draining Shroud is an aura for 35 points, so it's very pricey. While a Legion's Demonica Nurgle unit is within 6 of the bearer, you can only be targeted by range attacks for models within 18. So this is it's Bellacor's aura, essentially,
Yes.
for 35 points.
Yeah, and you put this on a Guo, the base is what 130 mil, so it's bigger than Bellacore,
Yep,
so you can hide almost anything from shooting turn 1,
correct.
possibly turn 2.
And conceptually, the way so I've been tossing up how good this is. I think in some builds this is exceptional, but it's exceptional in the builds where you want to put him in jail. So if you're taking, 18 Nurglings and you're just being like, Nurgling jail, enjoy, you can just blank like gun lines entire turn ones, turn twos, where they have to dig out the Nurgling because everything else is like more than 18 away from the back, like from the back of the Nurgling. So a la untargetable unless you can jump over the Nurgling screen. And I think that's really important and that's really powerful because you can just like, here's my 15 turn one primary. You actually can't do anything about this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's kind of cute for that. Last one is Font of Spore's Aura for 20 points. Nurgle monster model only. While the friendly Nurgle unit is within 6 of the bearer, improve the armor penetration characteristic of weapons by 1. Wowie.
Yeah, so this one I would either put it on a Guo or a Winged Demon Prince.
Winged DP. Yeah, just because the GUO is slow. It's slow and it's huge. It's logistically hard to wield. I like it on the Winged DP because it gives himself the AP buff, which sometimes it can need. And then you have much more ability to place it where you want, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, spot on. So what's your order of hierarchy here? So Kankerblight's the auto take, but where do we go from there?
I would do Kangerblight, Font of Spores, the Shroud, and then Magamaws.
Yep, I think that's fair. I think that's quite fair. And the fact that like Magamaws is just another trigger of Battle Shock, and you already have, one in your command phase, one for Kankerblight, and as you'll see, there's a couple more coming as well. So you don't struggle for ways to trigger the Battle Shocks. All right, Seeping Virulence for 1 CP. It's in your fight phase. 1 Nurgle unit from your army that has not been selected to fight. To the end of the phase, each time a model unit makes an attack, crit 5s. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, so if you pair this with what is it? Spoilpox Scrivener that gives them sustained, and then they have their weapons are lethal. So your crit lethal 5s, and then if you put this on the Demon Prince, you can give him lethal, sustained, or precision. So if you do sustained 5s with the Demon Prince, that's pretty good also. Or even just crit 5s or anything else, which is just nice to have.
Yeah. Well, it gives things like Plague Bearers the ability to just like kill a rhino. 20 attacks, with crit 5s. You're kind of just doing like 8 wounds. And then you got a Herald in there as well. You kind of, and then it could be AP2 also from being in the aura. So you actually
just 2 with Rodigus.
You're correct, mate. You're just like kind of giving yourself the ability to actually kill things as Nurgle, which is kind of their biggest issue.
Yeah. This one in Nurgle, you need, just like in Demonic Incursion, you need to get all the buffs together to make it work.
Yeah.
And if the bricks start falling from the castle, it kind of falls apart. But
yeah, correct. But yeah, we got a bit of a combo building, is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Fever Visions for 1 CP. It's your shooting phase or the fight phase. 1 Nurgle unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot or fight. And to the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll. After your unit is finished making its attacks, select one enemy unit hit by 1 or more of those attacks must take a battle shock test. So +1 to hit and take a battle shock, and we know how good battle shocks are going to be because you're within 9 inches. If it's the fight phase, so you're automatically at -1 for that battle shock, and then taking mortals, doing all sorts of things. How do you feel about this one?
I like it. That's It does what it says on the tin. It's good. It's
fantastic.
Shooting or fighting. So like if you have your soul grinder with indirect, like, well, maybe not the indirect, but if you direct line of sight it, your drones to throw more death heads at people to make sure to get a hit through to get your real wounds. So that's nice to have. And then in combat, pair this with the crit 5, so you're hitting on 2s. Lethal sustain 5s with your Spoilpox Scrivener, and it's that unit can just like murder a lot of things, honestly. If you pair all the buffs together.
Yeah, build the combo up and you can kind of reach whichever breakpoint you kind of want to, which is fantastic. All right, Fetid Resurgence is the 2 CP strat. Your command phase. 1 Nurgle unit from your army that is on the battlefield. Return up to 1 destroyed model to your unit, or up to D3 destroyed models if it is a battle line unit instead, with their full wounds remaining. If it is a monster unit, 1 model unit regains up to D3 plus 1 wounds instead. So you won't be regenning, because a beast of Nurgle monsters, or can you just 2 CP get a beast of Nurgle back?
2 CP get a beast back.
Oof. We all know how annoying those are.
Oh yeah. If you can take beasts in 3-mans, I'd be really happy. But only 2-mans, it's like, damn. All right.
They took the "we can't let Talos be good again" hit, where they learned from Thick City last edition, and they're like, these are all 2-mans now. And everything of a similar ilk is 2-mans now, like Sentinels are 2-mans. All those things, they've just gone down to 2. But man, I wish, because then I would want to take Horticlux if you could take a bigger unit of beasts.
Yeah. My tinfoil hat theory is GW is just lazy. So whatever, if you notice, like when you buy a box set, so it's like if you combine 2 box sets, here's your unit. That's my
Yeah.
tinfoil hat theory.
Fair. All right, Rot and Renewal is up next for 1 CP. It's in your movement phase or the charge phase. 1 Nogu from your army, going through walls again. All 4 Chaos detachments got their go through walls. And I got to say, this is kind of more impactful here than in the others, apart from maybe the Slanesh one, because keepers are fast. But this just means that a GUO can actually move in straight lines on our tables.
It's the best and worst one. It's the worst because they're the slowest.
Correct. But it's the best because it activates their movement more than it does the others. But it's still awkward, right?
Yeah, because like you're literally using your whole movement just to clear the walls. Because it move your base through.
All right. Next up is Merc Shadows for 1 CP. Your movement phase. 1 Nurgle infantry unit from your army. Until the end of the phase, each time your unit makes a normal move, +5 to that move. So literally, this is 1 CP. Plague Bearers double their move characteristic. I think this is excellent.
Mm-hmm. And you don't have to roll, and it's not in advance, so you can actually move 10, do actions, go closer to tag people, get the 9-inch out for their next command phase to do battle shock. So it's just good.
And it doesn't say you can't charge, so you can move 10 and charge. You just like extend their charge range by going from 17 inches to 22. It's really, really good. All right, last one is Plague of Woes for 1 CP. Your opponent's command phase before selecting any targets for your Melancholic Miasma detachment rule. 1 Nurgle unit from your army. To the end of the phase, after an enemy unit makes a battle shock test as a result of the detachment rule, select 1 other enemy unit within 9 of your unit that must also take a battle shock test. So you just bounce the battle shock to another one as well. This is selectively very good. How do you feel about it?
I wish you were able to battle shock the same unit twice. Then this strat would be awesome. But I mean, you take what you get. You can still battle shock 2 different things. And if you go within Canker Blight, that's possibly 2 extra dead custodies if you want.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, that's when it's going to feel so freaking good, which is what I meant by selectively awesome.
Or shield captain on bike if it fails. Oh no!
It's so good. Oh man, you're going to feel like such a king. You're going to feel like a king of the Garden of Nurgle when that happens. It's going to be amazing.
So yeah, so far the best thing that died from Canker Blight was Lord Invocatus.
Oh, that's premium. That is premium as hell. All right. That is the end of the Plague Legion and the end of the 4 detachments that we're going to be reviewing today. How do you feel about the Plague Legion, brother?
I definitely want to do more testing. I can see the possibilities, especially in teams. But yeah, like if you're facing especially pure melee, that it's hard to dig yourself out when they come get you. Like if you're playing against World Eaters, they can just overwhelm you super quickly, and you don't have your Fort Field of Pain Grand Clean one to fall back on to check Angron or 6 Exalted 8-bound to hold the line in a sense.
Yeah, because like you said, outside battle shocking people so they can't use stratagems, there's actually no defensive increasing bonuses here. There's nothing actually here to make you tougher. So you're relying on just the data sheet toughness, which is above average toughness for similar comparisons. But like you said, yeah, and the bigger thing I found is that this whole army functions off essentially 2 to 3 characters, like your Canker Black character, your GUO for the Be'lakor Aura, and like Rodigus are your 3 like linchpins that make this whole thing go. And if people know enough about it, I feel like they can kind of surgically remove the best parts of your army pretty effectively.
Exactly. And then you're only getting the 6 Field of Pain from that one Guo. And then you don't want to put him out in the middle because if he dies, you literally lose all your Field of Pains, and then you just kind of fold from you're better toughness, but you're still 5 invul save.
Yeah, correct. I laugh that the Slanesh detachment has more ability to heal than the Nurgle detachment.
They're also more defensive than the Nurgle detachment.
I know. I mean, Nurgle's obviously like tougher, just on data sheet comparison. But the fact that there's more defensive abilities in the Slanesh one.
I still think a keeper is more defensive than a Great Unclean one. Like
at the moment, with the 5 Feel No Pain, absolutely agree, mate.
And built-in neg 1 to hit.
Yeah, spot on. But I still have high hopes for the Plague Legion. I think it might be sneaky incredible in teams as just like a primary saturation army, and I think there's a lot of good stuff going here. This is the one this one is my favorite because it's trying to make Nurgle work, which has been the most maligned of the Chaos Gods for probably 4 or 5 years.
If you, I have a, I've been before Scintillating Legion. I'm sorry, the Slanesh Legion came out. I've been running pure Nurgle and demonic incursion for like 6 to 9 months, and I've been winning GTs and RTTs all the time with it. I think I think incursion is real good with pure Nurgle.
Fascinating. We might get you to answer some questions about that on part 2, which is where we're about to head pretty soon. But it's time for us to rank and rate all these detachments. Starting with the Slanesh one, man. As a demon player, how happy are you with that detachment out of 10?
9 or 10 out of 10, but I have a gut feeling it's going to get nerfed in a second. So whenever that dash comes out, we're going to see a change, especially Thieves of Pain.
Yeah, I want Thieves of Pain to be like 6 or 9 inches and or be 12 inches and require line of sight. One of those two things.
Or change it to only shooting or fight phase, something like that. I don't think I think like how it's worded is fine, but like make it not as easily accessible.
Yeah. Within 12 inches and no line of sight required, it's just so juicy, so very juicy. I would like to see that changed, and then I think it's fine. Then I think it's not as nowhere near as problematic. It's then just a better World Eaters list, probably, in my estimation.
Yeah, because then it's definitely a seductive gambit if you want to not fight first.
Yeah, correct. And you think this is possibly an S tier detachment, like in some metas on some terrain formats?
Yeah, like I'm kind of I would really hope if it doesn't get nerfed too bad that someone takes it to WTC.
100%, like 100%, it'll be taken to WTC if that occurs. So I have this as an AA plus detachment personally, and I think it's freaking amazing. My issue is if it much akin. So for S tier for me is the ones that can't be easily meted against. And I feel like if people really if the top lists, like say Astra Militarum and Space Marines at the moment, really wanted to have a good game into Legions of Excess, they could build lists that could be very good into them, and that's the reason I don't put it next to them. Pretty much, that's the only reason.
Okay, I understand the guard part because as of right now with their easy deep strikes with +1 to wound, I said, that's the silver bullet. But every time I played Space Marines, it's like a casually easy game almost, especially Blood Angels.
Yep, I totally agree with that. I think right now the Space Marine builds people are bringing don't have anything for Slanesh, but they all right, next up is Scintillating Legion. How good is this out of 10 for the Zinch Enjoyer?
I would say a Zinch Enjoyer 10 out of 10. Average Demon player, I'd say about a 7.
Yeah, fair enough. I agree with that. I wish it had a little bit more juice for the range portions of things. Like this army is like screaming out for a +1 to wound, the +1 to wound aura that Slanesh got, but ranged weapons to make like horrors and flamers actually like shoot. Because right now, essentially, your only shooting assets is like a burning chariot, which isn't awful, but isn't anything to write home about, and your Lords of Change. There's no real way to make your misc shooting, your like little anti-infantry, anti-trading piece shooting, that potent.
Yeah, like if Demons had just better data sheets, this would be awesome.
Yeah, totally agree. And where do you put it on the power rankings? So from D tier up to S tier?
I'd say solid B.
Yeah, perfect.
B minus, something around there. Fun at mid tables.
Yep. All right, Blood Legion out of 10 for the Corn Enjoyer. Where would you give this?
Corn Enjoyer? Corn Enjoyer lulls 10, but probably like a 6. I want to say like a 6 or 7.
Yeah,
like it's okay.
Yeah, I put it the same as Scintillating. For people who are willing to dedicate themselves to this, I think you can do it very well. But it is going to be one of those, if your opponent really knows what they're doing, it's going to be a rough time. Most of your rules are not going to take effect.
Yeah,
it's just going to be like,
Yeah, the list I've been messing around with this one is actually 0 Bloodthirsters. It's 3 Ringmasters, 18 Crushers, 1 Skullmaster, 30 Fleshhounds, and 2 Skull Cannons. just flood the board with bodies.
Yeah, just bodies, and make those like force your opponent to make your rules relevant. And that's what I don't like about it. Like all the other detachments just get rules that work all the time. These ones like require your opponent to like kind of let you make them like activate. Where do you put it on the tier rankings? I have it in B tier, right next to Scintillating.
Yeah, same as B tier, definitely below scintillating.
Yep. All right, Plague Legion, my man, out of 10 for the Denizen of the Garden of Nurgle.
Obligatory 10 and about a 5.
Yep. Yeah, I have this. I have this as like possibly A tier in teams, when you can give it a little bit of protection and then it can just not lose versus pretty much everybody, as long as you pair it well. It seems
Oh
like
yeah.
one of those lists that you can, like, if paired appropriately, nothing's going to blow it out. Nothing can even possibly get a big win against it, but still can get wins. So I have it. I'm estimating this as quite high, specifically in teams. In singles, I think it has too many bad matchups. And once again, this is a detachment that of the four, I think this one's the easiest one for people to meta against, and just add one or two characters to their army and make this easy.
Yeah, this one, yeah, singles 5 out of 10. Yeah, teams I would say probably 8, because
Yeah,
from the things you described. Yeah, if you can dodge the bad matchups, you can honestly dog walk people.
correct. You're correct. You can just be like, oh, sick. You scored every secondary point and you got 5 on primary. I do not care, mate. We're good to go here. We're good to go. Anyway, that is going to bring us to an end of this review. Lastly, the best. So we already said the best possible demon players are probably pushing for huge wins. We've seen Nottingham was won by Slash Demons. Uprising was won by Zinch Demons. Demons are winning big events the world over. So they are, and like overall probably an A+ faction at a minimum, if not pushing that S tier right now, as Big Lenny doth say. But yeah, we're going to go over and record part 2, my dude. But tell us about some Tundra Tactics stuff. Let us know about your team and where people can track or trace your results if they're interested.
So the vast majority of us are in the Wisconsin area, predominantly Madison and Milwaukee. We also have a Texas branch I believe in Dallas, Houston areas, and then I'm trying to get the Chicago branch uh, filled up. Honestly, by myself, I think I got about like 5 people joined. But yeah,
Nice.
you can. We're gonna go to a bunch of the big team tournaments. So, what is it? DreamHack, ATC. What's the one in Utah? I can't. Is that DreamHack or something else?
I don't know. Champs Cup?
Oh yeah,
Is that what you
champ.
mean?
Yeah, the what was
Yeah.
it NTL champs. So we're gonna go there. So you can catch us. Say hi, give high fives, all that good stuff.
Nice. Well, anyway, mate, thank you very much for coming on and lending your expertise. Once again, well done on your ITC performance, getting a #1 in the world with Demons. Might be a little harder in this next 12 months to do the same. Are you going to go for it again?
Yeah, I'll definitely try, and I'll actually try to make top 16 again at LVO. I just had
Hell yeah.
playing constraints last time.
Dude, you had such a run at LVO. I was sorry I couldn't get you on stream. But maybe we will just do better next time around. And on that note, we are out of here. Come and join us over on part 2 at Patreon, Art of War Down Under. And thanks very much for coming on again, Big Lenny.
Oh, thanks again, Adam.
Free thinkers won't fill the factory floors, demand the answers of a dinosaur. We'll break the concept for a smile, right man. They continue to stack up funeral piles behind their crooked smiles, with the profits of unbroken hands, ruined by automated demands. When the cards no longer turn, and the system doesn't work, you want a higher education, you want a reason to belong. They say it's the only way to learn, but on the hands are bent and broken. They say it builds character, but we know it's not the way to go. A bleeding education, they want you what you are. A thing to pull apart. Generational greed. Generational greed. Generational death. Generational death. A life on the street, a life to forget. Hamilton, and it died. climbing on this earth, these failing constructs built to break and fall.